Thanks, Rain. I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm going to slip my shoes off if that's okay. My name is Carrington Jackson. I'm so grateful and honored to be here. Please take a moment to introduce yourselves to the folks around you, front and back. So in my yoga classes, that's the first pose that we do. I call it Hello Asana. My name is Carrington Jackson. What I haven't mentioned was my full name, which is Carrington Razook Jackson. And when I was younger, inevitably there would always be this kind of like sketch comedy way I would be introduced to people, or I would introduce myself. And it kind of goes something like this. Hi, my name is Carrington. What's your name? Carrington. Your name's Carrington. Yeah, that's pretty. Well, what's your first name? That is my first name. Your first name is Carrington? Yes. Well, what's your last name? Razook. What? Razook. Your last name is Razook. Yes. Your whole name is Carrington Razook. Yes. Where are you from? I'm from Oklahoma. No, like, where are you from? And so I had to kind of tell the story of my family coming from Lebanon. And inevitably, the, oh, your name is pretty face changed to, you're from Lebanon? Kind of like, where is that? What is that? That's not from here. And so, you know, one or two or three of those interactions got me to understand that what they were basically saying is, you're different, you're from somewhere else. And so that left kind of an indelible mark on me. However, I was a performer, I was a dancer, I liked to be in plays, so I could perform my way into a conversation, into relationships enough to where I could be still curious, but not cut out. And so that's kind of how I maneuvered through my life. And being from Oklahoma and being in the 80s where there was no cell phones or no, you know, iPads or all the things, when I was growing up, I was outside a lot. But I really never noticed, like for me, being outside in nature was like more of a landscape. It wasn't a relationship. I didn't understand that I could have like a two-way street interaction with nature. And that all changed for me when I saw the movie The Color Purple. And it was about the mid-'80s. I was probably like 13 or 14, I think. And there's a line in the movie, in the book as well, where Shug and Miss Seeley are walking through a field of flowers. And Shug says to Miss Seeley, I think it pisses God off when we walk by the color purple and we don't notice it. And for whatever reason, that organization of words made sense to me, and it woke me up to something that I hadn't been paying attention to, which was that there is a possibility of having a relationship with nature. There is something that I can get beyond and past just something that looks nice, that's the backdrop to my life. And through, you know, as I grew up, there were moments, because I was starting to pay attention to things, there were moments where I would really interact with nature and gain something from it. I remember in my early 20s, I was running early in the morning and I like literally saw a burning bush. I don't think anybody else saw it. I didn't know what it was about. I broke up with someone pretty close soon after that, so I'm thinking it was something along those lines. But I had little specklings of you know, symbolic gestures that the universe, that the nature, my relationship with nature was evolving. And, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I really started to understand how powerful nature was talking to me. And it was when I stepped out of the airport in Jerusalem. And as I was growing up, I always, you know, I could always tell the story of my family coming from Lebanon, but I didn't really physically understand it. It was just something that I would say. When I got off the plane, when I walked out to the airport, and it wasn't even something that I was consciously anticipating, it was just something that was happening. And I felt my cells start to kind of organize like a magnet to a pole that I didn't know was there. And I knew, I could feel my DNA recognizing something that mentally I didn't know, and that was that I was home. That my body understood something that my mind didn't. And so from that experience, my body started telling me before my mind could tell me that nature, that land, was giving me an answer to an age-old question that I had for myself, which is, where do I belong? Where do I fit in? Where am I from? What was the beginning of my story? It wasn't Oklahoma. And so because I had been practicing yoga for quite a long time, I had started to build a practice of paying attention, like really paying attention. And I noticed my nervous system reacting to my insides orienting to home. And I knew that that peace that I'd felt was an indicator that this is where you're from. And so here's the deal, y'all. We all have something that we're seeking. And for me, it was a kind of a lifelong question of where do I come from? But it doesn't have to be something that spans your life. It could be something that you wake up with and are kind of operating with a little bit of excess energy, and you might need peace or you might need perspective, but there's some way that nature can provide that for us. And as I started to really appreciate my story, that's when I started to understand like how my story fed into the we story. And we are at a time right now when more of our relationship with technology it's overworking, and our relationship with nature is underworking. We're more consumed by what's down here than what's all around us. And then we're all carrying around kind of a baseline energy of just living life. And all of that energy inside of us is also now magnified by this external noise, this political and social climate that we're living in now. So we are kind of up-leveled in what we're dealing with. And so now it's so, so important that we find a way to remove the wedge that those things are causing, because that really is a disconnect. All that noise and all of that excess, all of these questions that we're seeking are really just ways that we're disconnecting our human from our being. And so how do we connect? How do we do that? How do we start to pay attention? And paying attention is just like going to the gym. It's just like building any kind of muscle. You have to practice over and over and over again. So please sit up tall. If your legs are crossed, uncross them, please. If anything is in your lap other than a kid, you can keep the kid. Anything else, kind of sit it aside. Roll your shoulders a few times. Unhinge your jaw. And then take a deep inhale. Open your mouth. Exhale, sigh it out, and let it go. Do that again, breathing in. Exhale, letting it go. One last time, inhaling here. Exhale, let it go. Now your eyes can stay closed, they can be open, somewhere in between. Anything is fine. But just start to feel yourself from the outside in. So you might feel the air on your skin. You might hear the sounds from myself and from the little one in her stroller. But as you start to pay attention to what's on the outside, you start to pay attention what's on the inside and how your breath feels in your body. Notice just how your shoulders feel, your chest. Is there room in your body for your breath? As you practice the art of paying attention in this way, watching and feeling the rise and fall of your breath, you start to create a road from you to you. And now when I ask you this question, without edit or it being erased, just notice what shows up first. When I say the word nature, what pops into your mind? Can you begin to visualize something that's organic and real? Perhaps it's trees like Rain had mentioned earlier. Perhaps it's the ocean. Perhaps there's a field. Notice what's around you. Is it greenery or flowers? Is there sand between your toes? Is the air wet and cool or warm and sharp? Notice how you're feeling in this place. What does this place do to your insides? Can you feel the pull of gravity? Can you hear the sound of the breeze? What can you take in? The subtlest of nuances about this vision inside of you. It is your mind that is generating this vision, but it is your presence that's watching this vision, and it's watching the impact of this vision on your body. And as the breath rises and falls inside of you, that breath is just a conduit for that vision and the impact and the effects of that vision all throughout you. As you sit for just one more moment inside of this place, take in all that you can. Is there some kind of question or something that you're seeking, and the answer written inside of your vision? The clarity of the blue sky, the perspective of the tall trees, the sound, the constant sound of the waves as a reminder of the ebb and flow of life. Place one or both hands right in front of your heart, right on top of your heart. And let this be an opportunity to maybe even sign a contract or seal some kind of intention. That when you're seeking, you seek less from technology and more from truth. And that together, that journey, that inquiry, that search for the answers will build us and bring us into a deeper relationship between you and you, but more importantly, may it deepen the relationship between we and us. Gently open your eyes. Release your hands into your lap. Thanks, y'all.